Welcome to Behind the Smile with Dr. Shaggy. I'm a cosmetic dentist and the founder of Veneer Lounge and Modern Bite Dentistry. In this show, we go beyond the smile, highlighting all the incredible journeys of the amazing people around me. Together, we'll uncover their stories of success and inspiration, hoping to empower others to reach their full potential. Let's dive in and discover what's behind the smile. Let's dive in and uncover what's behind the smile. Today we have Jessi Brown, the founder of Balloon Therapy.
Hello.
Jessi,
hello.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, I wouldn't miss it.
How were your holidays?
They were good. This is a very crazy time of year for my company. Since we do event design, December is insane, so finally taking a breath, or a little bit of a breath.
I was going to say probably just a little bit of a breath, but
yes,
thanks again for at least being here today.
No, of course.
Now, to start us off, I would love to hear your journey, because you weren't planning on balloons as a future. So if you don't mind discussing that with us.
Very unconventional. Actually, I don't even know how I got here, but yes, in some ways. So the name Balloon Therapy comes from, I'm a therapist, I'm an LPC. I went to school for a very long time. Therapy, psychiatry is the family business. My dad was a psychiatrist. So that's what I thought I really wanted to do. And I still enjoy it. I still love it. I still use it on the day-to-day. It helps me out sometimes.
Oh, yes.
But I was super close with my dad growing up. He was a very hard worker. He was born during the Great Depression. Wild. Yes.
Crazy.
So I think a lot of his work ethic came from, that era. So I saw how he worked so hard. Everything he did was for me, my mom, my sister, our family. And so I wanted to be just like him. And I saw all the people he helped through counseling. He actually had an office in our home. So I saw all of his clients come in and out day to day, everybody that he helped over the years. So, of course, I wanted to do the same thing. I just thought it was so cool. So went to school, went to the same college as he did, went to school, decided to do my master's, got that, and really wanted to focus in on adolescent counseling. So did that for a while, worked in several different types of areas, hospitals, and opened a private practice, and it was very fulfilling, but I'm also a creative, and with psychiatry and helping people, there's not a lot of creative room in there. So I was doing stuff on the weekends, like designing friends' parties and helping with that. That brought me a lot of joy. Was thinking of wild stuff. I hope I'm not going to try to cuss either too much, because I have a working on it. Wild things. I love to do wild things for my friends. So I started doing event planning, so full spectrum event planning, and really figured out that it was a lot of work, very time consuming, beginning to end, and then figured out I wanted to just do event design instead of just planning and being there all day. Because shout out to the event planners out there, it is so much work.
Yes.
Especially if you're doing the full spectrum of everything, because you're basically in a relationship with those people for a year if you're planning their wedding. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it could be an unhealthy relationship. So I figured out from a few, and I'm a people person, but just from a few weddings, I'm like, whew, too much for me. Some people are fabulous at it, too much for me. So ended up going and helping a friend out in Los Angeles plan a big party. And when I was there, we were driving somewhere, and I saw it was right outside of LA, under this overpass. This artist at the time, her name was Geronimo, or still is Geronimo.
Okay, yeah.
She had done this crazy balloon thing. I'd never seen anything like it before in my life. I was like, what are those, helium? What is that? It was just giant clusters of balloons, and I was just like, what is this? This is insane. So, and I'd never seen it in Dallas before either. So I got home and was, just combing the internet, trying to figure out more about her, what it was. I was like, how sick would this be at a party? Like, this is incredible to just do giant clusters of balloons that just look, you could theme them to different parties. My wheels were turning, and I'd only seen one thing she did. So I got online and figured out that there was a company in Australia that had started to do a little bit of this, but there was really nothing else about it. There was no tutorials, there was nothing. So I just started experimenting. I've told you this story, but I went to Tractor Supply, and shout out Tractor Supply, and bought a thing of chicken wire. And chicken wire is not easy to manipulate.
No.
It's not.
Yes.
So I brought it to my parents' house. I was like, okay, I'm going to blow up all these balloons and attach them to this, because that was my, at the time I was trying to engineer something that made sense and that would be very permanent, because I didn't want them to fall or anything. So put it on my parents' wall, scraped all paint off the wall. Oh, it was horrible.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes, but my parents, who are creatives too, they were like, okay, honey, you do you.
Do you? We're here to support.
I had my mom blowing up balloons with the hand tying one at a time, fingers bleeding. It was horrible. Yes. My husband didn't know what was happening. Was just thinking. Probably thought I was having some type of psychological break. Maybe I was. So I tried it, and I was like, this isn't going to work. I got to come up with my own system. So knowing nothing about the balloon industry, and there was at the time, very hush-hush. Like, if you knew how to do certain things, you didn't spread the knowledge. Right. There was no podcast, there was no YouTube videos, there was nothing. So I started researching latex balloons and the chemicals that are in them and the science behind them and the color pigmentations and where they're manufactured. And it took me a while. I tried tons of different types of balloons, because my first event was a little bit of a mess, but we made it through. You got to fake it till you make it, right? So I posted a picture. I did something for a graduation party, a balloon garland, and I figured out I wanted to use fishing line and twist these different balloons together and to make it as less work on my hands as possible, because that's the thing. After you're tying so many balloons, like, your hands start to hurt. Yeah. So figured out a system, posted this on my event page, Instagram, and now looking back at it, I'm like, ooh, I made that. Yeah, it looked great. But at the time, I was like, this is a masterpiece. Check out, look, world. So posted it, and the company Bumble DM'd me, and I was like, oh God, okay, here we go. They were like, we're looking for somebody in Dallas we're having a big event. And at the time, I didn't watch like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, like Rachel, one of the original like Bachelor, I think she was on Bachelor, Bachelorette, all of these huge influencers, Jenna from Kiss FM, all these people were coming to this event. And I charged them probably, a tenth of because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like trying to quote them out. I was like, oh yes, now looking back, I'm like, whew. But I just dove in. I went and acted like I knew exactly what I was doing. Quoted out this extremely, this job was intense. It was insane. Even now, looking back at that event, I'm like, oh my God, how did I pull that off by myself? It was crazy. I did a backdrop on the stage, and this is when I didn't even know what types of balloons to use. It was super hot day in the summer, so I had some balloons popping outside. There was a florist trying to put flowers into the balloons, which had never happened before. It was the first event ever that had flowers incorporated in balloons, and I'm over there watching her putting them in, like, please don't pop, please don't pop, please don't pop. But also trying to act very confident at the time, which I think I did, because the event worked out beautifully. There were a lot of stressful points. It was an all-day event, and I literally sat across the street at a coffee shop and watched the balloons the entire event. It was like an 8-9
I love it. It's your big baby. It's your first big baby.
Yeah, just having panic attacks.
Is this your first big event that kind of opened your eyes to changing gears as far as your career goes?
Yes, 100%. So as soon as that happened, it was like, it was an aha moment of, I can do this. Like, and it was the thrill, and like, you know, the people there were the like, you know, the compliments were like, oh my, because when you're a therapist, the reward comes very slowly and over time. And there's not a lot of reward session to session, other than you know by the end of like that hour that hopefully you've helped them. But typically people don't go out like, oh my gosh, this was the best hour of my life. You know, they don't do that. So reward is slow and over time, and you see it in like, you know, with kids succeeding or doing different things. This was like automatic. You're an artist. This is beautiful. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I love it. Thank you. Like, it was so cool. And I don't do well with compliments, and I figured, I'm like, actually, this is cool. This is a fun thing. Like, you're all of this, the trials, and it was very hard. And I'm a very tough person. It was very hard figuring out just the industry and like how to make things, and there was a lot of test on especially my self-confidence of like, can I do this? Like, surely I can, it's just balloons. But when you're doing events for companies like Bumble, and then, you know, literally the next week I did balloons for Ross Perot's birthday, his final birthday.
That's a big one.
And I'm like, please don't let the balloons pop, you know, as they're wheeling him out to like look at this display. I'm like, this is really cool, but I may have a heart attack. I may. Right here.
No, I remember looking at all of those photos. It was absolutely amazing. But like you were saying, everyone wants to be loved and respected in life. And it sounds like you got that gratification through your art and balloon therapy. And through that, how did your, pun intended, but how did your business blow up? Was it social media that really attracted the business?
It was social media. Okay. Instagram. Shout out Instagram. Help me out with my reels, right? Just kidding.
Not kidding.
But also, Instagram was free, and balloons it's really cool to get a really fun photo from balloons. You know, it's not like I'm, you know, photographing like, you know, succulents, which, like, you know, it could be really cool, but like balloons are really visually appealing, and at the time nobody was doing it, and so it just exploded, and to the point where I knew I couldn't do it by myself. So that's when I was able to find a CEO. He found me, and I didn't want him to find me at first, because I'm like, I can do it on my own. I don't need you. And then I was like, help, you know, because not only was I working a full-time job still, I was a school counselor at the time, and doing private practice, seeing 8 clients a week, and then going home, renting a U-Haul. So driving home from school, driving to a U-Haul, leaving my car there, getting a U-Haul, driving to my townhome where we blew up all the balloons. My husband, who was either at the fire station, sometimes he'd be blowing up balloons for me at the fire station. I'd stop by and pick them up in my U-Haul. And U-Haul doesn't have like a frequent flyer like, oh, don't worry, we'll upgrade you for like, since you've been here for a year. No, they don't give. U-Haul, work on it. But you know, like with American Airlines, they give you a little love after a while. U-Haul doesn't care. They don't care. But also shout out to U-Haul for keeping my business alive the first year. But would do that and go set up events probably 4 to 5 nights a week. Which is crazy. I mean, it was intense, but it was also so rewarding. The adrenaline was nuts, because I was like, this could be huge. Like, and I was getting better at it, figuring out better systems. The people that I was connecting with in Dallas and the social scene, I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. I was like, these are CEOs, these are political leaders, these are athletes that just want me to be creative. Like, this is pretty sweet. So
having the creative freedom, I feel like, is the best for any artist in any industry. Including even dentistry. But anyways, as far
as your creativity goes, how did you end up finding your team? As soon as you found out, all right, we're getting busier, we're growing this business, how did you select the proper teammates to join?
That was hard because I didn't trust anybody. I'm like, you don't know how to do this. And that's when my CEO was like, listen, Jessi, you need to, he's like, in order to grow this business and for you to not, I know this is rewarding, but also it will wear you down. You know, it's going to get to you and you're going to start to resent it. And he's like, we don't want to get to that point. We want you to love this every day. So after about a year, we started bringing in, I remember my first, and he's still with me today, Trace.
He's
wild. Oh, he's wild.
Trace.
Yes. He came in and I just knew he had never done balloons before. None of my employees, even to this day, that have come to work for me have done balloons before. And it's not because I see it on their resume and I'm like, nope. It's just we attract just creatives. Trace was an artist, but he was working at a donut shop at the time, Voodoo Donut. Because as artists, there's not a lot of opportunity out there, especially if you don't know business very well. So he came on with me, and it was hard at first because I thought, nobody can ever do this. Nobody can do what I do. But I quickly learned that they can't, and people can surprise you. You just have to put a little faith into it. But also for me, what I learned is I had to use a lot of my counseling skills and communicate constantly. And I pride myself on being a very good communicator. Like if something disappoints me or if I love something, just not assuming people know, just communicate. And that's how I've been able to keep so many of my staff for so long, is they know. We know, I'm letting them know how I feel about things. I say, you tell me too. Like, let's talk through this. And through communication and a lot of like really hands-on training, I was able to formulate this amazing team that they can do or anything I can do.
And I know that your team is very loyal to you too, because like you said, Trace has been there for years.
Yes.
And what's wonderful is, I would consider you as a pioneer as far as your industry goes, but you even created systems of how to do this. So you don't necessarily have to be a true artist, but you created systems, and you even opened this up to workshops for other people that wanted to get into this industry. Would you mind touching on that?
Yeah, so that was our big COVID pivot. Imagine, we're 2 years into the business and it's booming. And then all of a sudden COVID hits. And during COVID, events were shut down. You couldn't do events. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because we were rocking and rolling. It was insane. And so I sat down with Junior, the CEO, and my husband, and we were just brainstorming, like, okay, what can we do at this point? And we're like, why don't you, since you said there's no education out there on balloons, why don't you, and there wasn't some funny ways, there'd be like, the learning how to make a dog, those kinds of things, which people, when I tell them I do balloons, I'm pretty sure they think sometimes I'm in the mall, like, blowing up. But shout out to those people, because that's hard work, but I will never do it. But I'm like, no, not those types of balloons, but I will if you'll pay me right, but also, so he's like, okay, we got to pivot. We're going to have you teach classes. So, and I had quit my job as a counselor at this point. It had been a year in, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Now we bought a camera, we set it up in the studio, and I started teaching everything from the business side of things, because that's really how we grew so quickly, was having systems in place that I see myself more now as a business person than just because I've learned how important it is. With the amount of people I have on staff, I didn't want to, during COVID, I didn't want to let anybody go. I was like so determined. So I set up a camera and I taught classes over everything, how to make a garland, how to do a backdrop. And the classes exploded because nobody had taught before. And it was cool to see so many fun messages. And now I was getting more like, thank you so much for not doing this balloon display for me, but like teaching me.
Yeah.
Because now, like, it was a lot of, stay-at-home moms or people who had lost their jobs who now felt like they had some way to make money. And which was super cool because I didn't even think about it that way. I'm like, there's a lot of people that did lose their jobs, and especially a lot of people in like creative industries, because people weren't performing anymore, people weren't, everything was shut down. And so I was able to help people either pass the time by learning how to do a balloon garland for their kids' party, a lot of moms out there, or literally giving them a way to make an income stream. So those just exploded. And then at the end of COVID, we were able to we called it BT Con. So, like Comic Con, like it was the first balloon conference where we had people sign up and they could come. We did a weekend where we taught all sorts of classes, balloons, social media, business. And it was so fun because I got to, especially after COVID, when you're just like dying to connect with people again, I was like, oh,
come here,
please, everyone,
yes.
come on,
Yes.
come on. We opened it. We actually had probably too many people at the first conference because I was just like, bring them all. But it was so fun to see everybody there.
It's wonderful that you've been able to not just create something that's brand new, create systems, share those systems with other people.
Yes.
It's like you are sharing joy exponentially by helping and teaching other people that are wanting to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Now, what you've created is absolutely impressive and admirable. But how do you balance business with your beautiful family as well?
Oh, barely. A lot of it is it's hard because sometimes yes, I am very intentional with my time, or at least I try to be. One thing that I've always prided myself on is I'm a very hard worker, and I feel like mindset to me is extremely important. And yes, I could tell people all day, like, no, you have to find a balance or just like really work hard. But I feel like within all of that, one thing my dad, bringing this back full circle, really taught me was something that he would call mental toughness. And he would always tell me, if you want to be successful, there's going to be hard times, but really if you're mentally tough, if you're mentally strong, you can do anything. So whenever I catch myself getting overwhelmed, I'm like, no, you can do this. You've come this far. You have these two little beings that are looking up to you, and I basically can talk myself out of being upset or which in some ways, yes, I do process those feelings, and that is a helpful thing with being a therapist and being in tune. And I make a lot of humor also.
Yes,
helps
humor
too.
helps.
But I really feel like success, especially if you don't come from a lot, is based on mental toughness and your ability to process things quickly and problem solve and move from it quickly, and just knowing, like, even if I'm tired, I can talk myself out of it sometimes. Like, no, you're not tired. Like, you're fine. You need to focus your mind, because sometimes when you think about too many things, you can literally like whip yourself into an oblivion, and exhaustion from. So it's focusing my mind and just taking things a step at a time, but the more I do that, the more I know I can take on too. So it's this crazy cycle, but I do feel like mental toughness is a huge, and that sounds so crazy coming from a balloon lady, but I do feel like that I attribute that to a lot of my success, is just being able to like handle anything that comes my way.
I love that, because that's a perfect way to define it, as mental toughness, because you are all over the place, meaning you are so busy with your business and you still, you share your life on social media, which I love because it's so entertaining.
Yes.
Because it's not just business, but then it's also with your beautiful kiddos.
I need a GoPro.
Who are my God kids. Love them. But, you are so busy, but I love that your kiddos love you so much.
Yeah.
I know that you're such a great role model to them, and it's great because they get to watch mom and dad hustle, work so hard to create this beautiful life for them.
Yes.
So shout out to working parents out there as well, for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But with that, what are now your future goals? Does it change at all now that you have a growing family?
Yeah.
Do you have larger, bigger goals that you're wanting to tackle?
See, it's funny you mention this because I am not a big goal setter. It's crazy. I, like New Year's resolutions, I don't do any of it because I feel like I'm very much a person, just from how my life has played out so far, that I take every day a day at a time, and when things present themselves to me, that's when I know that's the next step, that's the next path, so to speak. Because even with this past year, having more time outside of the balloon business after we started franchising and the different cities and whatnot, and I was able to take a little bit of a step back because I have such great team members, I was able to focus more on home design and seasonal decor design, which was a whole new avenue, which was just fun for me, something new. But I don't set goals very often because it's not that I don't want to let myself down, but I just never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And I don't want me hyper focusing on something when something's right here saying, no, this is what you should be doing. It's right here. It's right here. It came to you. So, but overarching, be successful, raise good humans, raise good people, because I'm really big on karma and being good to people, because I've seen a lot of just not in the event industry can be a little cutthroat, because you're trying to get paid, you're trying to take care of your people, you're trying to get the most beautiful things, you're trying to attract, clients that can afford these giant parties, and there's a lot of, opposite of camaraderie sometimes in the event world, but I've seen it really backfire on people. So I'm really big on karma and, doing everything that you can to help others on the day-to-day, but also taking care of yourself in the meantime, like not pushing the limits. But I do feel like my goal is just to continue to honor myself and my family and my business and do what's best for them, and things will come that are unexpected, which I love.
Yeah, it's part of the excitement.
Too far ahead.
Think about how far you've come. You went through all that schooling for therapy, decided you're going to do event planning. Then you're like, you know what? Let's just stick to balloons. Like you said, things have come to you. And I actually love that. I never thought about not setting goals, just allowing things to come to you, and then you just putting your work ethic into it and see it fruition.
Yeah.
So
welcome to my TED Talk.
Right?
Don't set any goals. Kids,
you might be
don't need
speaking to someone about, you never know. I feel like a lot of people are really hard on themselves. Like, why don't I have goals and stuff? Let things happen. Yeah. And you are the poster child for that, in my opinion. That's awesome.
Yeah. People's visions boards scare me. I'm like, how are you really going to do all that? What are you... Just vision boards are beautiful, but for me, I wouldn't know what to put on it. I wouldn't know where to start. I would have no idea.
And that's probably the creative side of you, right?
Yes.
And
I think so.
I'm very science and fact driven too. That maybe that's something that's holding me back. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see.
Quit those vision boards.
Quit it.
You don't have time for vision boards. I know you. Not cutting out magazines.
Now, as they're coming to an end, what piece of advice do you have for someone out there that has an idea of what they want to pursue next, but they haven't taken that step?
Oh, I was talking with somebody about this yesterday. I am huge. Maybe I was talking with you about it. I'm huge on actions, and once you verbalize something to somebody, you better act on it, right? Unless it's wild and far-fetched, but I feel like as soon as you verbalize something, you need to take steps to make it happen, because if you said it, then that's something you want to do. And I'm very big on, no, you don't have to like immediately quit your job, but you have to have faith. And a lot of my business coaching with the balloon business was empowering people to be like, hey, I know you don't have, you're doing the math and I have to do this many jobs this month to make up for my income now and everything. I'm like, don't do that. You just need to if all of that worry went into you just focusing on perfecting your craft and diving into it, you'll be fine. So just don't think about it too much. Don't talk about it too much. Just do it. And whether you think it's dumb or not, because sometimes you'll start on an idea and it'll shift. It'll gravitate to what it needs to be. So just have some faith and make the jump is what I did. Even with my husband and business partner who are very analytical and very, they're the money men. I'm like, well, it's fine. I just made the jump even when they were nervous about it. And as soon as I quit full-time counseling, was able to put all of my efforts into the business, it literally exploded overnight because I was able to put all those mental energies into. So yeah, don't downplay the fact that if you focus on one thing, how much that can help nurture it.
Oh, for sure. Especially a specific niche like what you created.
Exactly,
you put in that energy. I always say you have to have faith in yourself. If you don't have faith in yourself and your product or service, then don't do it. But if you have faith in it where you know it's a need out there, pursue it. Go for it. And like you said, just take action.
Exactly. And even if you aren't having faith, is even if I wasn't confident with my first balloon install, I'm like, these balloons are not good. But I was confident in myself that I was going to figure it out the next time and I was going to do better. Yeah. So even if your product or whatever isn't exactly what you want it to be, you'll figure it out. Just be confident in the process too.
Well, that's how you're going to learn and grow too, is through trials and tribulations. Exactly. Well, I greatly admire your resilience, your determination, and your growth. I can't wait to see what you end up coming up with in like 2-3 years as well, because you're forever evolving.
Who knows?
And I love that.
Yes.
I love that. So you guys, thank you so much, Jessi Brown, for joining us.
Thank you.
And remember, behind every smile, there is a story. So thank you, Jessi Brown, again for sharing your story. And remember, you guys, never stop smiling.